It can when it's a low-rate Freedom United Federal Credit Union fixed-rate Visa card. This is Pat Travail, and I'm the lady in the loan department with the big scissors. No, you silly. I'm not doing haircuts, but I'm going to use those shears to cut up those nasty high-rate store charge cards that you're carrying around. Why, you ask? Because you won't be needing those cards anymore after you take advantage of Freedom United's low 6.99% fixed rate balance transfer special. Good for a limited time on new money transfers to a Freedom United Visa card with approved credit. Potential money saved on lower monthly payments really can be life-changing. So can a haircut, for that matter. But we'll worry about that later. Visit Freedom United Federal Credit Union, where the interest is in you. Member NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
Your success is our success. We belong to you.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBBP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
It got announced a couple of days ago, and I've talked about it a few times, and I'm very, very happy because for the next hour, I don't have to talk about politics or medicinal marijuana. And even better than that, I get to talk to DJ Frye. This is a brand new show, Bus Talk with DJ Frye. And DJ, your first guest, you do realize I'm just going to say, DJ, take it away. Not yet. Anytime I get somebody introduced as a doctor, I sit up. And that happened a couple of minutes ago. And the first thing the guest said was, no, Jeff, Dr. Jeff Beltz is your guest on your first show of Bus Talk. You're the Hopewell superintendent, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I want to talk to you about sports because two-time All-Americans don't walk in here that often. So we're going to get to that. But first question I have for you before even DJ gets his question in, are cell phones in the hands of students just the biggest pain in the tuchus ever?
Yeah, there's some challenges with that, and that's been ever increasing and growing through my time as a principal and now into superintendent. So, the communication once upon a time was just a phone, and then text message got brought in, and now with the social media, it's not just one-on-one texting back and forth, but it's a whole group of outsiders watching, and so certainly it brings some unique challenges to the school day.
DJ, you set up this show, and we're going to do this show, and this show's going to be great. What made you choose Dr. Beltz first?
No, Eddie, when we talked about doing this, framing this up about a year and a half ago, the idea of me being involved actually didn't exist. And Frank Sparks, the wonderful executive director here at Beaver County Radio, he just kind of kept twisting that arm. And, I think the common goal to this 12 months.
He can be persuasive when he wants to be.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he can.
But the common goal of this is to really get our community, get the Beaver County residents to get an opportunity to meet these wonderful leaders when it comes to our local education and the school districts here in Beaver County. So we met about a month ago. The idea popped back up, and I said, sure, let's do it. Why not? I'm proud of to have a wonderful, strong relationship with all the school districts here in Beaver County. And there's not a guest that I wanted to have for the first show more than I wanted Jeff Beltz here, Dr. Beltz. Him and I are good personal friends, and I think there's not a better way to kick this thing off here for Beaver County listeners and our viewers.
Being as close as you just claimed you are gonna submarine him with a tough question to start with?
Well, we talked, off air, make sure. Certain buddy stories we don't disclose and talk about.
I'll deny the friendship as well.
Yeah, I'm not above claiming I've never met you.
Yeah. But to me, in my honest opinion, this is one of the brightest minds when it comes to education. Jeff's been in education now over 20 years. Our friendship was basically created through coaching football. Coached football for 20 years at Beaver. Again, he's just a guy that I've looked up to for many years, called multiple times for advice, and He's one of the most honest guys I know, and I know the residents and taxpayers and the staff at Hopewell are not only lucky, but they're blessed to have Dr. Beltz as their superintendent and leader to their community.
What do people, the average rank and file people, not know that DJ, somebody in your position, would know about people like Jeff? Because for most people, I've seen the name Dr. Jeff Beltz. That's all I know. I don't have a connection to it. Is that what this show's about?
That's you hit the nail on the head, Eddie. That is our goal. These individuals are no different than you and I. They have personal lives as well, and they're not always in suit and ties. And I asked Jeff, where's the St. Patrick's Day green? But he's a 100% business at all times, and I know he's really happy to be the leader there at Hopewell and the superintendent. And I look forward to our listeners and viewers getting to know a little bit more about him on a personal side.
Up to a point.
Up to a point. We could talk later off air about a lot of other interesting topics with Jeff. But, I think you and I talked about this. Two sports star All-American at Geneva, Freedom grad. After Freedom, he went on to Geneva. After that, he coached college football at Robert Morris for the late, great Joe Walton. And, Jeff, I believe in 99 you guys won the national championship D2. Is that correct?
It was 1AA at the time, but the non-scholarship league. But, yes, that's accurate.
And one of the interesting things I think our listeners and viewers would be interested in knowing, during that 99 summer, he was actually working for Ralph Sindrich and Company, becoming a licensed agent. Yeah, you and I spoke about that.
Yeah, I know Ralph.
After his successful coaching career at Robert Morris, Jeff went back to his alma mater for a year, was the transportation director of all things, and the athletic director. And I don't fault him or question why he only lasted 1 year there, but I think the truth be told, and this is one of the questions I want to ask him, at the age of 26, he was hired to teach at Beaver Area School District. But the interesting thing, Eddie, at 26 years old, he was hired to take a football program over after another Beaver County Mount Washmore, in my opinion, Pat Tarquinio. So the pressure of a 26-year-old taking over a football program, to me, you and I talked about taking over a program after Nick Saban.
Yeah,
those are huge footsteps.
Yeah.
And, I want to ask him when we get time about what that was like as a young guy. He probably will tell you just didn't know any better. Exactly right. And then he runs
Too
that.
Too dumb to know the snake pit you're entering in.
That's exactly right.
20 years later, I think just one losing season, right?
There were a couple early and then a couple late. But, yeah, I think there was a 15-year window where we did not have a losing season. Yeah,
and then he just kind of embedded himself and as basically an adopted Bobcat, and I'm no different to him. So he was at Beaver for 20 some years, and then he was hired on to be the assistant superintendent at Moon Township. Which once you go to Moon, you're there. That's one of the premier Allegheny high schools, school districts, and Jeff, just because of his reputation, his body of work, gets offered that job. But like all of us from Beaver County, when you can come home, you come home. And was offered the opportunity to interview for the superintendent job at Hopewell. And that's where he is. In October of 22, he was hired as this current superintendent of the Hopewell School District. And it's been a ride.
It definitely has been a ride. There's no doubt about that. And the last few years have been challenging. I think you and I talked about that, and we'll probably get into that a little later as well.
And I don't want to miss my last note on my good buddy here, but he's also a proud Bulldog and Gridiron Alumni Hall of Fame member. He's in also the Geneva Athletic Hall of Fame, and he's also in the Beaver County Athletics Hall of Fame. So, again, you would not know that about him because he doesn't share that information. Matter of fact, if you look anything up about him online, you don't see that. And that speaks volumes to who this guy is. He leads with his leadership. And again, I mentioned earlier, one of the most honest, down-to-earth guys and just tremendous leaders and tremendous communicators. So, Jeff, welcome to Beaver County Bus Talk, Episode 1. Remember, I told you a couple stories not to share. My wife could be listening.
And she should be.
Board members could be listening, all right?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
the good thing about this and what we want to bring to our listeners here in Beaver County is really an off the cuff. We want to be high energy, really fun, and just really bring to Beaver County who these guys and gals are who lead our school districts, because I get to know them on a personal side and a business side. And that's something that I want everybody else to get to see and get to listen and get to know. And again, did I miss anything? Any other Hall of Fames?
No, that's more than enough.
Day ain't over yet. DJ
Yeah.
Frye, I want to. Can I ask him a question? We've got plenty of time. I know you got lots of questions. I want to ask you one question. Which is harder to learn from, winning or losing? Because I know at some point when you got into academics,
Sure.
you felt like you lost. You come from a long line of not losing, obviously.
Yeah, I guess one piece of that, though, is there was a lot of losing amongst the winning, meaning we were rooted that way, whether and you just have to understand that it's part of the whatever profession, right? That those are short-term hurdles that you have to get through for the bigger picture in mind. And but which is more difficult, or what can you learn from? I think it's always easier to work with students and athletes after a win. It's easy to be a little bit more humble, but it's also difficult on the losing side for it not to be acceptable, but to beat people down and when they're already losing is a difficult emotional piece to that. You realize you have to get better because you lost, but then you don't need someone else on top of that kicking you down even further. So,
Telling you why you stunk.
Yeah, so getting a win when maybe you shouldn't have or could have easily lost is easy to deal with the teachable moments than after a loss.
And Eddie, as every good leader does, you got to surround yourself with good people. He had some great coaching staffs that he put together, and you built a lifetime of relationships with those guys.
Yeah, and DJ, you're one of them, so I don't know if,
Well,
if
hold
you're
on.
patting yourself on the back here.
Hold on.
But,
Eddie, listen, when he says I was a football coach with him, maybe the first 10 years, but as soon as I got married, things change, right? Things change after you get married. I became the glorified backup bus driver on Friday nights. I rode the bus to the games. My name was in the program as coach. I was nothing more than the backup bus driver. In case one of the bus drivers got sick during halftime,
Well, sure. It's like
I was the guy.
It's like a goalie. You got to have a second one. You're probably not
My
going to
wife's
use
going to
them.
tell me I knew this the whole time. Your purpose was no halftime adjustments, no whistle in hand. I was the backup bus driver.
and by the way, I think that's where we ended up with some of this bus talk, right?
Yeah.
The title of the show in and of itself.
How many life lessons did you see applied in the back of a bus coming back from a road trip, Mr.
we
Superintendent?
were at the front of the bus, was to and from. But, there's a lot of good, healthy conversation taking place. And,
That is
and
that is such an academic phrasing. The healthy conversations. If it was a hockey talk, you mean there's fist fights and you're sorting it out.
not on this bus. Not on the buses we were at. And quite honestly, I mean that. Many of us don't have downtime in our day. And so that 30 minutes or 45-minute ride, you do get to have honest conversations that in a lot of ways are very meaningful.
Now, you realize why nobody ever wanted to sit with you, right?
I have no idea. But
You have no idea why nobody ever wanted to ride that first bus, the varsity bus, and sit next to you.
can't wait to hear why.
Jeff gets bus sick.
That
do
is true.
you?
He gets bus sick.
Yeah.
So if it was a long way game, Brownsville, we'd have to wait till like Thursday night. He'd tell me, okay, I'm going to ride the bus. I don't need a side van to drive me to the game. I'll be okay. But yeah, nobody would sit next to him because of that.
That diesel queasy
Yeah,
feeling, right?
it wasn't that bad, but yeah, that bothered me my whole collegiate career, and those bus rides were hours.
A lot of bus rides. Okay, this is Dr. Beltz. You do realize that you have next to you the guy in charge of all the buses. That's like handing kryptonite to Lex Luthor.
Yeah, understood.
All right.
Understood.
It explains the warm relationship. We need to take a break. It is Beaver County Bus Talk. DJ Frye, the host, and Dr. Jeff Beltz, superintendent of Hopewell. You get sick in the back of a car, too, as a kid?
As a kid, yeah, it was awful.
Could you read?
Oh, never.
All right. He's got kryptonite on you.
You worked hard for it. Why not earn more on your savings? You can with a Farmers Building and Savings Bank Passbook Savings Account. A Farmers Passbook offers a premium interest rate higher than most local financial institutions. This account gives you immediate access to your money with no penalties. It's FDIC insured, and imagine this: it's not internet accessible. This account is safe from hackers. It's your money, so why tie it up long term when you can earn more at Farmers? And if you're in need of money, a Farmers Building Home Equity Loan is an excellent way to cash in on up to 80% of your home's equity. Perfect for fix-up projects, bill consolidation, or that once-in-a-lifetime vacation. Farmers Building and Savings Bank simplifies the loan process to make borrowing easy. Stop in or call 724-774-4970. That's 724-774-4970. Beaver County employees serving Beaver County residents. Farmers Building and Savings Bank on the Park in Rochester. Banking made simple since 1894. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
If being well educated is important to you, then you need to get to Friendly Federal Credit Union now. This is Cindy Hilario. Besides helping to educate you and your family about managing money, we also help educate the future generations of Beaver County.
It's true. Right now, applications for the annual Carl D. Ross and Anthony S. Payne Memorial Scholarships are now available. 2 $1,000 scholarships are awarded every year to help fund education for our local members. This is Karen Latchaw. Click friendlyfcu.org or visit Friendly Federal Credit Union for more information or to apply.
Learn more, get it, about what your credit union can do for you. Visit the place that makes more sense for you. Friendly Federal Credit Union, member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Friendly Federal Credit Union. You got a friend.
When you talk about community involvement and safety, the name Frye stands at the forefront in Beaver County. Frye Transportation's mission is to continue to raise the bar as the gold standard in their industry by providing the safest, most reliable, and cost-efficient transportation service in Beaver County through their strong relationships with their community's best-in-their-class drivers, equipment, and technology. There's nothing more important than the safety of their students, employees, and community members. Frye Transportation, where the quality of their organization is characterized by the makeup of the individual behind the wheel.
It is Teleforum, 25 minutes after 11 o'clock. News coming up in just a little bit. We're in the middle, not even quite the middle. Beaver County Bus Talk. DJ Frye, our friend, is the host, and with him is Dr. Jeff Beltz, who is the superintendent for Hopewell. And it's my understanding that we got somebody on the phone for you, too. You there?
Hello, this is Beaver County Bus Talk. Caller, are you there?
Yep, this is John from Monaca.
Hey, John from Monaca. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So yeah, Dr. Beltz, it was nice to hear some of the high school and college athletic accomplishments that you've had through your career. And DJ, I know that you were quite the two-sport athlete in high school playing for the Western Beaver Golden Beavers. Granted, that was single-A sports, a little bit of a big fish, small pond type thing, but in your own right was a good two-sport athlete. I've heard you're also one of the best Papa Shot arcade players there are around.
That's caller John from Monaca. That's true. Not only Western Beaver, but yeah, Papa Shot at the arcade. Eddie, I tell you what, I can light it up pretty good. No doubt about it.
What are you, hustling kids for those tickets for prizes or something?
Hey, it's all for the kids.
It's all for the kids, sure.
John from Monaca, what you got any good stories about Dr. Beltz?
No, I don't. But, both of you were involved in coaching at some point in your career. And both played athletics as a high schooler. So I'm just wondering, some of the changes that have happened to high school sports over the years, can you talk about some of those changes and if they've been positive, negative? For instance, the spread offense is a lot more prevalent in Beaver County now. Used to be a ground and pound type football, the all year round sports, things of that nature. Can you go into some detail about that?
Thank you for the call, John. What do you say?
So I thought he was going to bring up Point Park baseball, and then all of us Geneva people were going to have to get off the line. But appreciate that, avoiding that, one of Geneva's rivals. But I guess I'll first begin by saying, yeah, there's changes, and society evolves, sports evolves, high schools evolve. And then the first thing that's the most competitive are local sports, right? And so that's probably seeing the first wave of the changes. I would say there's pros and cons to all of it. Year-round sports is certainly a benefit. It keeps people and students engaged, right? We need kids to be connected to their schools, so that connection is great. The downfall of it is that the multi-sport athlete seems to be, less and less important or going away, which was critical to my own development. The cross-training of sports and the friendships I made across a variety of locations assisted me, developed as a person. But I would say there's that AAU component as well. So it's not just the development of the sport. You still have your friends that you've grown up with, whether you're playing the spread offense or the full house T backfield, and it's the lessons learned along the way. I mean, there's a lot of people that aren't going to play college sports that have benefited greatly from that camaraderie that's lasted a lifetime. And I think those friendships and those lessons learned are the most important thing. It is the learning from defeats, as we had mentioned earlier, the lessons learned, being able to take adversity and turning it into a positive. But then I think we've lost a little bit too with some of the AAU circuit or the specialization. So those people aren't necessarily representing their town or their school anymore. They're representing something else that's about personal development, which is fine, but I think we're losing a little bit of that cohesiveness and care for our teammates and peers.
Well, and to caller John's part, or to his point, he talked about change. And Eddie, you and I talked off the air about this the other day. Wednesday was the 4-year anniversary of when COVID really hit the local school districts, when school districts shut everything down. I can remember I was sitting at my desk and Dr. Rob Hostapak called me and said, "Hey, buddy, just got off of a conference call with county officials, all the districts, and we're going to shut down for the next 2 weeks." So we're going to go to a break right now, and when we come back, I would love to hear what Dr. Beltz has to say about all the changes on the back end of COVID.
Absolutely.
Make Easter more than ever with chocolates and novelties from Rosalind Candy Castle. You're invited to stop in for the area's best selection of Easter basket fillers and novelties made from the highest quality pure milk chocolate. Try their homemade hand-decorated Easter eggs, such as the mouth-watering peanut butter melt-away eggs, delicious cashew melt-away eggs, or the traditional fruit and nut eggs. All 15 varieties of Easter eggs are made fresh in Rosalind's Candy Kitchen. Hop on over to Rosalind Candy Castle on the corner of 13th Street and 5th Avenue in New Brighton, or shop online at rosalindcandy.com. Rosalind Candy Castle, the sweetest place in Beaver County.
Hi, this is Tom Young from First Consultants, Inc. Have you ever heard the phrase, "you can't take it with you when you die"? Of course you have. Believe it or not, nothing can be further from the truth. Everyone has economic human life value. That value based on what we do and what we earn annually for a lifetime. We all know that the next generations of our family are going to need a tremendous amount of money to circumvent the government and the problems that they have left us for our future. Life insurance creates this money for pennies. Many times it can be created with no additional out-of-pocket cost. You see, you do take it with you. You take it away from the future generations of your family. Give us a call at 724-728-6820 for a complimentary 45-minute discussion, or visit our website, firstconsultantsinc.com, or tune into our monthly multimedia simulcast and Facebook live stream video on the third Tuesday of each month from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
All advisory services are offered through PL Wealth, LLC. PL Wealth is a federally registered investment advisor. PL Wealth is no way affiliated with First Consultants, Inc., nor is First Consultants, Inc. a registered investment advisor.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect a chance of rain showers today with some possible thunderstorms. Otherwise, it'll be cloudy with a high near 55 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after this look at news. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano reports that Beaver County 911 says there was an accident on the Rochester-Monaca Bridge on the Rochester side at approximately 7:30 a.m. this morning. Police were still on scene as of 8:30 a.m. and Beaver County Radio is awaiting the details of the accident. A nearly $150,000 grant from the Department of Community and Economic Development will assist the city of Aliquippa as it emerges from Act 47 status and works to achieve long-term sustainability, according to State Representative Rob Matzey. Matzey says it took decades of work and collaboration and faith in our city, but together with support from the Commonwealth and city leadership led by Mayor Dwan Walker, we had the resolve to do it and we built back. The project funding from DCED will help us develop long-range plans for the future and keep the city moving on a new independent path. Congressman Chris DeLuzio recognized the impact of the Affordable Connectivity Program to help make internet more affordable and available to his constituents in Western PA. The program is set to end by May 2024 unless Congress replenishes the appropriate funding. DeLuzio said since the Affordable Connectivity Program began, it has helped more than 29,800 of my constituents save up to $30 a month on their internet bills. However, the program will soon run out of funding unless Congress acts. Lance Grable, director of the Beaver County Office of Planning and Redevelopment, says over the past 3 years, more than 8,800 low-income households in Beaver County have subscribed to a federal government program that helps them pay for reliable home internet. According to the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, 1 in 5 U.S. households are not connected to the internet. Moreover, 44% of households earning less than $30,000 a year do not have broadband, according to the White House. The Department of Community and Economic Development Secretary Rick Seeger unveiled a new brand marketing campaign to support business attraction efforts in the Commonwealth. It's called Pennsylvania Gets It Done. The campaign builds on the growing momentum from the Commonwealth's new 10-year economic development strategy that launched in January and reinforces Governor Josh Shapiro's proposed 2024-25 budget. The campaign highlights the Commonwealth's key industries, including energy and agriculture, skilled graduates and diverse, talented workforce, and our ranking as one of the top states to start and run a business. A truck driver accused of killing a pregnant Amish woman in her rural home is headed to a Pennsylvania courthouse for a preliminary hearing. A Pennsylvania judge on Friday will consider whether investigators have sufficient evidence against 52-year-old Sean Cranston to advance the charges toward trial. He is accused of killing 23-year-old Rebecca Byler and her unborn child inside the Byler home near Spartansburg in February. The hearing in the Crawford County Courthouse is to determine if there is enough evidence to support those charges, as well as accusations of burglary and trespassing. Cranston's lawyer has not responded to messages, and the chief prosecutor has declined to discuss the case. System outages at McDonald's have been reported worldwide, shuttering some restaurants and leading to social media complaints. Other locations are back up and running after the failures on Monday. McDonald's in Japan posted on X, formerly Twitter, that operations are temporarily out at many of our stores. It called it a system failure and apologized for the inconvenience. The website Down Detector also reported a spike in problems with the McDonald's app in the last few hours.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Rain showers and 58 degrees this morning. The rain will continue through most of the day today. We could see a thunderstorm or two. We'll reach a high near 57. Tonight we'll drop down to about 35 degrees. Saturday mostly cloudy, then gradually becoming sunny. We'll see a high near 59. Showers are likely Saturday night with a low of 42. And Sunday a slight chance of showers in the early part of the day, then partly sunny with a high near 51. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
It is Teleforum, but it's more than Teleforum. On Fridays, it's a brand new show. It's Beaver County Bus Talk. DJ Frye is the host, and his guest today, because he's the host, and he has guest, Dr. Jeff Beltz, of Hopewell School District Superintendent. And right before the news, DJ, you brought up something that I would be very curious to know about. 4-year anniversary from when the planet shut down. talk about the education and what a superintendent goes through when the school's shut down.
Years, or 4 years ago to this day, or this past Wednesday was when I received that call, and there's so much has changed since then. And so my question to you, Jeff, is can you talk about the changes and really what has your last 4 years of the day in life of Jeff Beltz, what has that looked like?
Well, I've changed jobs a couple of times during that, so it's been a lot of changes for me. But DJ, I can remember it wasn't shortly after the shutdown, because I think we all thought, well, hey, 2 weeks, let's get back at it. And then it was another month, right? And I think when we hit that April to May window, we didn't script any of this, but I can recall a phone conversation with you saying, I think might have to file for bankruptcy, right? And so that hits someone different like me, who's a principal at the time at the Beaver School District, that we have small business owners like yourself and your family that have invested in our schools, Beaver County, and what that potential impact meant. And so, you stuck it through, right?
It was tough, definitely tough for everybody.
But I know it was a difficult time for you and your family. And instead of dwelling on it, because we're personal friends, what's happening? Your bus drivers are delivering lunches and meals to the community, right? There's hubs, and without hesitation, Frye Transportation and drivers were jumped into action to help. And the whole time in the background thinking, my business might go under.
Right. It was tough.
So it's a credit to you. When I say it that way, I had some personal challenges, but I think that echoes a bigger theme for a lot of other families that were throughout this county and nationwide and worldwide. So thank you for that commitment.
No, and thanks for bringing that up. And again, just to add a little bit to that, I mean, you think about, the teachers, they don't know what their career looks like moving forward. Our bus drivers, my number one concern at that time when that news came to me, what was going to happen with my staff? We need to keep them healthy. We need to keep them, fed. We need to keep them money coming in. But just like you also mentioned, the parents. I mean, I think all of us were worried about what was about to happen.
Right. Yeah. So amongst that, I changed jobs. At Beaver, we planned for it, and we were in the middle of it when it shut down. So that spring was difficult for everyone. I'm sure it looked very similar, but yet different for everyone. And then moving into the next school year, I also returned to Beaver at that point. Different challenges in the district in and of itself, whether
so
virtual.
When you came back, when we came back to school, did you see a difference in the students, like their behaviors? What was that like?
I think everyone was respectful because they were a little bit timid and scared of what was going on. Right. We weren't sure how much interaction they should have, keep people separated. What was weird in the high school, or Beaver's a 7 through 12 campus, and I was the 7th, 8th grade principal at that time. What was really odd there was that 9 through 12 remained virtual. So no students were in the building 9 through 12, but we brought back the 7th and 8th graders on a hybrid.
Yeah.
So we had half a group every other day. So you think of the size of that building, and now our middle school is a little over 300. Now we have 150 students in our building, and our staff was great. They deserve a ton of credit.
You remember all the new stuff, like the shields, separating, tiering everything? Yeah. I mean, the prep work and the new training just to kind of get to where normal would be. There were so many new things going on.
Absolutely.
That, we had to sanitize every vehicle. Yeah. Students, we had to do contact tracing in the school buses. I mean, it was different, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think everyone was willing to pitch in and do whatever it needed, because there were so many unknowns. And so people being, I won't say unregulated, but you get the point. Like, we're trying to be overly cautious. And then for me, I was transitioning to Moon when the 9 through 12 students were coming back to campus at Beaver. But I stayed on as football coach. So that was a whole different element, because we were coaching football later at night. We had to have individual water for everybody. We couldn't do this. And the amount of things that everyone, again, parents, teachers, coaches, everyone was jumping in to try to create as normal an environment as we could to allow sports to proceed. And so those days were long. and I had transitioned to Moon. Moon was going through similar struggles. Difference at Moon, though, is become an assistant superintendent. I moved into a role that was curriculum development, and we were in the process of embedding new math curriculum, not really curriculum because we all have the same standards, but a series and then an ELA series. And I have to say that was one of my most proudest professional moments, that after 2 years of being at Moon and embedding that ELA in early literacy programs, that when I was actually at my last school board meeting, McCormick Elementary School was receiving an award for the highest building level score of any elementary school in the whole Commonwealth.
Yeah, in the entire state, I believe, right?
Yeah, the entire state. And so we were able to celebrate with those teachers and principals when at my last school board meeting.
I remember one of the first conversations we had after you, maybe a couple months, I said, how's things going over at Moon? And you said, you know what, it's wonderful, but I miss Beaver. You knew everybody.
Sure.
I mean, you knew the families, top to bottom. But I remember you telling me it would be a lot easier if you could meet somebody without a mask on, because you knew you get to know their name, but you only learned who they were from their eyes.
Yes. So Moon had 7 schools. Typically everyone knows the high school there and the middle school, but then there's 5 elementary schools. And I'm trying, making weekly rotations, and I might know a name and an email, but I'm going to the classroom and I only see the eyes up, right? And they were messing my name up. They were misidentifying me. I'm like, imagine if it's the other. We have 312 teachers and support staff. I got 500 people that I keep just seeing their eyes.
Right.
Yeah, and so I said, it did give me a different perspective, though. I was like, think if you're a new student in this school system. That's their experiences.
Right.
And so, I think from my personal involvement, like I rely on relationships in a lot of aspects. And so maybe that was the difficult part. But I've also learned that people give you opportunity. If you're willing to be humble, put your head down and work your tail off, that people are going to give you an opportunity. They're going to give you the space that you need to prove, whether what work you're doing is beneficial or not. And then from my perspective, being able to listen is so critical to the piece of success. And so put it all together, and then I made the transition, right? I have 20 years at Beaver.
Right.
Built up a ton of goodwill there.
Right.
Care a lot about the people, and that was mutual. Now you go into an environment that you don't necessarily have that. But without question, the last 4 years I've grown as a professional immensely. Right. Both school districts had teacher negotiations. We got through both of those. And then that brings us to Hopewell.
Right.
And the opportunity.
Well, real quick, I remember when you left Beaver, I know one of the hardest things for you personally was we just came back from COVID and the students had the mask on, a ton of changes, but you were always really cautious of the 7th and 8th grade students. That's a big jump at Beaver because you're coming from Dutch Ridge Elementary. That building's 3 through 6. Students are now on a high school middle school bus, right? They got to sit in the front of the bus, Eddie. All the good stuff happens in the front, right? So now they're up in the front. They're not the big students in the back, on the Dutch Ridge buses anymore. But that's a huge adjustment on a normal year, because they have to come down, share the hallways with the big kids, and there's new testing. There's all that stuff. So on top of all the norm and those new adjustments for those guys, your heart has always been there in those 2 hallways, that 7th and 8th grade hallway, and now you put the mask on. And it's just so much more pressure for those students. And then this opportunity comes and, you go to Moon and, you just left off. Now you're walking into Hopewell. What's that been like?
Yeah, first of all, the community's been great. School board's been great everywhere I've been, with me personally and with a focus of student interest in mind, right? They've all been great in that respect. I've been welcomed there. And again, I think it's kind of along the same lines. You work your tail off for the betterment of the group, and people reciprocate. So everywhere I've been, Beaver, Moon, now Hopewell, the teaching staff, support staff have been great with me, and I'm truly appreciative of having some leniency and giving me some grace as I learn. But everyone's been extremely supportive. We've had our challenges at Hopewell, right? Sure. Same thing. Teacher negotiations and contracts is always there's always a little bit of turmoil. and trying to keep that away from the community and public, where it belongs, behind closed doors.
Sure.
And sometimes that overlaps, and we understand that. So there's always going to be some normal roadblocks or difficulties.
Well, we're gonna pick up on that. We're gonna go to a break real quick with the news update. But when we come back, I want to ask you about the feasibility study on your previous on Monday's board meeting. I believe it was the 12th. You talked about the feasibility. So when we come back, I would love to ask you a little bit about that.
Absolutely.
When you talk about community involvement and safety, the name Frye stands at the forefront in Beaver County. Frye Transportation's mission is to continue to raise the bar as the gold standard in their industry by providing the safest, most reliable, and cost-efficient transportation service in Beaver County through their strong relationships with their communities, best-in-their-class drivers, equipment, and technology. There's nothing more important than the safety of their students, employees, and community members. Frye Transportation, where the quality of their organization is characterized by the makeup of the individual behind the wheel.
Here's Dale Reckless from MRS Physical Therapy as he explains the importance of pre-sports testing to help you reduce the risk of injury.
The intrinsic factors are looking at things within our body that could be causing the problem. So that we start to look at as physical therapists, shoulder range of motion, forces at the elbow, things like that. We're looking at the whole kinetic chain. For example, turning your head side to side. If you have less than 39 degrees of that motion, you have a 9 times increased likelihood of an injury. So these intrinsic factors are both measurable and modifiable. So as a physical therapist, I can take a baseball player or any kind of athlete, I can do my tests on them and see if they're within normal limits or outside of normal limits. And based on research that's been done, I can tell if there's a likelihood of injury or not.
If you need physical therapy for any reason, choose the place your friends and neighbors do. MRS Physical Therapy in Bridgewater and Cranberry. Visit mrsphysicaltherapy.com.
Oh my goodness, Amy, it's so good to see you.
Jennifer, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Is your mom doing any better?
Thank you for asking. I don't know if I can answer without being emotional. I'm sorry. I'm just tired and worried. I can't always be there for her, and it's so stressful.
I really understand. That's how I was with my dad. I'd recommend calling St. Barnabas. We did. We started with just having them come in for home care. He was so excited to see them show up. And when he needed more, we were able to move him in at Beaver Meadows, where he still has his own home-like space and excellent care.
Thanks for telling me that. I don't even know how to start, but I have to do something.
Oh, you can just give St. Barnabas a call. They have directors that can explain how it all works. Trust me, you'll feel so much better, and so will your mom.
I'm so glad I ran into you.
Visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com or call 724-443-0700 for care apart from the ordinary.
If you're considering funeral pre-arrangements to relieve your family of making decisions under stressful conditions, consider Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum. The cemetery was founded in 1865 by community leaders to provide a beautiful area for proper burials. It's now one of the oldest ongoing institutions in Beaver County. Here are 5 reasons to choose Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum. It's a nonprofit with a perpetual care fund to ensure future upkeep and maintenance. Beaver Cemetery offers attractively priced burial spaces and mausoleum crypts. At Beaver Cemetery, private mausoleums and memorials are permitted. It's a beautiful and peaceful historical landmark setting with a heated and air-conditioned chapel in the mausoleum. And finally, Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum is centrally located to serve all of Beaver County. Why not contact Beaver Cemetery today? Their courteous staff will help you with your decisions concerning burial alternatives and selections available. Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum, Buffalo Street, Beaver. Call 724-774-8039 or go online beavercemetery.net.
This is Beaver County Bus Talk, and my name is DJ Frye, and my guest today is Dr. Jeffrey Beltz, the Hopewell Area School District Superintendent. And before our last break, Dr. Beltz was talking about the last 4 years when COVID shut everything down and really his travels through the education world. And today we're talking everything there is about life, our friendship, and more importantly, Beaver County education. Jeff, you left off about, we were going to talk about the feasibility, but I wanted to touch on one other thing. 4-year COVID anniversary, but I believe this is like a 1-year anniversary of a SWAT situation at Hopewell. Do you want?
Sure. Yeah. Just about a year ago was the swatting incident, really throughout the region or even the nation, and Hopewell was one of the victims of that swatting incident, which was a fake 911 call, right. A false report of an intruder. But I can tell you what a day, right? What a day of getting a report. Chief Sedlak giving me a call, Rob Kartachak, the assistant principal, giving me a call and saying what to report.
Right.
And hearing those words of intruder and casualties, still in a calm manner. I give those guys a ton of credit. Sure. And then trying to burst onto the scene to learn more about it and get right into the action. Jamie Ursina also is Borough Hopewell Township manager. All those guys were tremendous in this process. But that day was difficult. I said it was both my worst professional day
absolutely.
Of my life and my best.
Yeah, right.
You know, and as I tear up, because that's, those of you that know me, that's not my makeup, but knowing the experiences that everyone were going through that day and being able to be a part of a leadership team and a group of people that were trusted to lead us through it or out of it was very important to me. And again, the staff, the makeup, the maintenance, busing, all of those were critical components of that day that didn't bat an eye, didn't blink, and people were moving. They just needed the command to do so. Our principals, everyone moved, and we had 150 officers or emergency personnel report to Hopewell High School that day. That's humbling, and it was immediate.
Sure.
But we learned a lot in that process.
Sure.
And we got through it without any casualties, and that's also for first responders coming to the scene. There's a bigger picture to that. We got through it when there is no practice for what we went through in preparation. We can talk about it. We're definitely better on the back end, and hopefully regionally, we've shared enough information that people are benefiting from that experience. But what a difficult day. But what a great ending.
Yeah, what a great ending. And I know you guys, I actually, ironically, if you remember, I had a school bus myself up there. We had a field trip at Hopewell where I think the students were using your swimming. And I got a random call from one of your principals. And the plan that she laid out for me, she said, this is coming directly from Dr. Beltz. And we were able to get our students safely out of the building, escorted off the property, and just your planning, your communication with your staff and the first responders and the parents. I know a lot of parents showed up at the scene as well.
Yeah, and look, we could have communicated earlier on the outside. We were securing our interior folks. But, I'll polish that up, and they have my commitment that would change, and it will and has. And, we are a better place because of it.
And I know we only have a few minutes here. Again, DJ Frye, Beaver County Bus Talk, Jeffrey Beltz, Hopewell School District Superintendent. Last thing, I know you want to talk about the feasibility because I know it's a hot button topic out in your community. But you want to get a shout out real quick of your staff and everybody back home?
Yeah, well, all the districts that we talked about, but certainly Hopewell and the support of everyone there and getting me caught up to speed. My transition has been eventful. But without everyone involved in providing support, we certainly wouldn't be at the positive place that we are right now.
And in the last minute, quickly, what about the feasibility study?
So it's really a little bit more in feasibility study. That one had been completed in 2018, 2019. At this point, we're doing some district-wide planning for what the future of Hopewell schools could look like. The school board has put in place some goals for a project. Right now we have 5 buildings, and the district board, the school board, has put goals out there that we are going to condense to 2 or 3 buildings. And we're right now in the exploration phase of what does that mean? Are we going to build? Are we going to consolidate to buildings that we already have? And those conversations, we've had community meetings. Today was actually in service where we're working through activities with the staff. But people have to understand, for the district to be able to afford any project, that there has to be consolidation. And not just for now, but literally we have to be thinking 30 and 40 years from now. Do you want to replace 2 or 3 roofs or 5 roofs? And it's very simple, I think, when we explain it. How many driveways do you want? Parking lots, front doors, security systems, even SROs. And, I'm not trying to angle that. It just quickly gives you a perspective of what consolidation means. And we're roughly around 2,000 students.
Right.
The district is somewhat smaller than one once was.
Well, Jeff, I know we've been friends for a while. I want to thank you for coming on to Beaver County Bus Talk, and I think you left us with a lot of good information, and I think moving forward with our shows, love to have you come back on, pick up where we left off. But again, thanks for all the years of friendship, and continue to be one of the brightest minds in education. For this episode of Bus Talk, this is DJ Frye with Hopewell Superintendent Jeffrey Beltz.
Beaver County Radio proudly welcomes Frye Transportation to their